How's it going, guys? Today I have something very exciting for you because I finally managed to play Assassin's Creed Mirage, a preview version, not the final version of the game. And as a massive Assassin's Creed fan, this is a game that's been on my radar ever since they announced it. And I've got 26 with me as another massive Assassin's Creed fan. 26, are you excited to talk about some Assassin's Creed Mirage today?
Yeah, definitely. This is one that I've been looking forward to because supposedly it's going back to its roots. I want to know how you really feel about it and what your experience was with like how you got to play. What did you actually get to play? Like how much did you get to play?
So that's just it. I got to play about an hour, maybe an hour 10, so not a massive chunk. And I will also say I was kind of thrown in about mid-game into this sort of preview demo, and I didn't have any tutorials, anything to go off. I just got sort of the controls given to me beforehand in like a slide. So as more of a kinetic learner, I definitely struggled a bit, and you might see that in the gameplay where I'm not the most stealthy and perfect assassin. But it was super fun to try it out, and again, it was a remote session, which means there was a bit of a delay again in playing it, so it wasn't the most smooth and perfect gameplay experience, but that's what we have to make do with sometimes when it comes to these remote sessions. It's more of a technical thing than to do with the actual game and performance itself. But I will also say I'm coming more as a more recent in the games in the series for Assassin's Creed when it comes to my preferences. So I played a lot of Valhalla, a lot of Odysseys, a lot of Origins. My first Assassin's Creed was 3. My favorite was Black Flag, whereas for you 26, I'm pretty sure Brotherhood was your favorite, right?
Yeah, so like the Ezio stuff is my favorite. I fell off as soon as they started introducing the RPG stuff. I was like, I am out, because essentially they did have like the stealth in there, but it wasn't a focus, and I like my stealth games. I like my Metal Gear Solid, I like my Splinter Cell. Bring them back. But now that they're going back with that with Mirage, I'm excited to see how it feels and how it plays out, because those games were banging.
That's it. So you prefer the more stealthy style. I think I prefer just going on a rampage, right?
Yeah.
When I think of 3 or Black Flag, I think of I'm just going on a tear against like 10, 20 plus guards. Whereas I do know in those more, in like Brotherhood and even Assassin's Creed 2, it is more stealth focused. And this game is going back to the roots. But I will also say from playing it, I feel like it's more of a hybrid. It's not perhaps fully going back, because there is still some systems and things in there that feel more modern. So it's like a modern take on that original play style. But I will also say they definitely are gearing you towards trying to be an assassin and not just like a berserker warrior. It definitely, you're more advantageous in these different missions when you are being stealthy, not getting spotted, and you don't really want to get into direct combat as well. But should we just jump into some of the gameplay things? Have you got any particular gameplay questions?
So Leah, what was the actual structure of the missions that you went on? Because in the old ones, what you used to have to do is like go around, assassinate a couple of people or lieutenants beforehand, and kind of those were like one-shot kills that you went in, and then you finally got to like the big boss, and then it used to have like this cool elaborate cutscene when you finally got to like the big boss of like that region and you assassinated them, and they would say a little line, and there's loads of little Assassin's Creed kind of iconic lines that came from that, from Ezio saying stuff as well. So it's interesting to know what the mission structure was like.
That's just it. I feel like there was that sort of throwback in some ways. So a large part of the mission was basically, first of all, was finding clues. And it's not very hand-holdy either. It's not like you have a straight-up icon that you're going towards. It's more, here's a big area, go and figure it out. Oh, and there's a lot of enemies in this area, so good luck. That's basically what at least a few of the different missions were. So you sneak into an area, you're going through rooftops, you're going through the bushes, you're being stealthy, you're trying to find these clues that will lead you towards where the actual target is. And I will say I'm not the best at stealth games. I definitely got caught a few times and had to go into just full fight mode. And that's where I can sort of comment on, the game, you can fight, and it does work, and it does feel a little similar to the more recent Assassin's Creed games where you can do like light attacks, heavy attacks, but you don't have those skills that are like, the more RPG, like you pick them in the skill tree, you do like a Spartan kick or something. You just don't have that. But you do have tools. You have the assassin's tools, which we've seen in the trailers and in the gameplay. So you got like a smoke bomb, a throwing knife, and those, once I figured out how to use them, which admittedly was quite near the end of my play session, those really do help, and they do make you feel pretty badass when it comes to getting caught or just using them to get an advantage in the situation. So the mission structure was, find clues in the area, not very handholdy. Then you can progress to sort of the next stage in the mission, which is where you're then in the vicinity of the target and you're trying to figure out who exactly the target is, like identify them, identify all the enemies around them, their bodyguards and stuff. And then you kind of have how you want to tackle the mission. Do you want to find a way in and assassinate them? Do you want to go in, and just try and fight your way through? Or do you want to go and find an item that will allow you to get into a restricted area rather than sneaking in there? That was my sort of experience anyway. So it seemed like there was a few different options on how to tackle those missions. But I will say, again, not very handholdy, which I did like. But not having full grips with the controls definitely set me back a bit, because I wasn't quite sure how to do, the assassin's focus takedowns, or how to throw a throwing knife when I was, standing on a fence above an enemy or something like that. I would say, a bit of a hybrid.
I would always find that in those Assassin's Creed games, it takes me a couple of hours actually to get back into like the full stealth flow of things as well. So being thrown in a demo on the deep end and being like, oh, you got to defeat one of the mid-game bosses is a bit of a sticky situation to be in. But one of the things that I really want to know about is, because they've been gassing it up. I've made so many Mirage videos for the channel, and they're always gassing up Basim and how like agile he is. How did the parkour feel? Because that is one of the biggest aspects of it, and everybody kind of wants it to return to this Assassin's Creed Unity parkour system. What was the fluidity like? How was the controls? What was it saying?
Now, this is a really hard one for me to answer, because we know that they do have improved parkour speed and stuff like that to make it more fluid, as well as a lot more animations and different pole vaults and stuff like that we've seen. However, and I might attribute this to the slight delay in the remote play, it didn't feel super smooth, and there was certain areas where I was either not able to parkour, or I would stop, or I'd get caught on something, and that could just be because I was not familiar with all the controls and it was the remote session. So some parkour sections felt very smooth and very good, and other parts where I was running, across like a pole or something, I kind of just abruptly stopped and it didn't quite flow there. But again, I think that this was more so a remote session issue than actual gameplay, so we'll have to sort of wait and see there on that. But the parkour's there and it feels how you would expect it to feel. I wouldn't say I was seeing a lot of new moves that I hadn't seen previously, but again, I only played for a short snippet of time, and I was really just trying to get the mission done before I ran out of time, So,
yeah.
So that's how I felt about it.
That kind of leads me on to my next question, because obviously you're parkouring around like the world and stuff like that. So how did like Baghdad kind of tally up with the rest of the Assassin's Creed places that you've experienced?
I would say it's certainly a unique visual location and an area to explore. It's a very dense, at least the parts that I was going in, I didn't have full freedom, by the way. I was told and restricted to the mission, so I couldn't go and explore the whole area, unfortunately. But what I did explore was very dense areas. There was lots of just people, and it was bustling in different areas. And in one of the missions, you were in like this marketplace auction, and that was like just full of people as well. So it felt very alive. It felt like a bustling city, which is what they're going for. There were lots of different vibrant colors and things like that. But I enjoyed it. It was a different setting, one that I wasn't used to, particularly when I think of Assassin's Creed.
What about the actual like size of it as well? Because I know from the visuals at least, it looks like the original Assassin's Creed, like #1. But what about the actual like size of the city? Did you get to explore much and go off the beaten path?
Well, I'm not sure if I can show the menus. I'll show it if I can, but I don't think I can actually show it. But I did look on the map. And the map itself, when you're traversing and looking through it, it did look pretty big. And again, you can see, it's like a cool 3D map when you zoom in, so you can see all the buildings. There's a ton of buildings in this place. There's also a surrounding sort of area, like a wasteland around it, that looks to be explorable as well. But I couldn't go, I wasn't allowed to go there myself, so I can't say just how big and just how explorable it is. But from what I saw of the map, which not all of it was uncovered as well, it did look a decent enough size, considering how long it was taking me to get from different objective points, which was only a subsection of the city. And within that as well, I can say you do have a mount system. So for me, I could basically press the mount button, it would call a camel over, and I could ride the camel. And it did have the more modern mount system that you would expect, where you can have it automatically go to the objective, and you can do the cinematic camera mode, or you could manually control it, which I thought was interesting because that's a more modern Assassin's Creed feature as well. And you could swim. I did actually go for a little swim in one of the rivers as well, which I thought was
remember
cool.
in the old games, you just couldn't go for a swim. Like you would just drown like sometimes until they actually introduced it. So that's cool.
Yeah, you could swim and dive. Like you could go under. So I'm guessing there'll be water exploration areas or missions as well.
Yeah. So what about like the story and the characters and all of that stuff? What are they saying?
I think. I kind of, that's where I think if I could play another couple hours, I could get a really good feel for it. It was kind of like I was just going on a hit mission, and there were bounty boards with extra targets that you could go and get and stuff like that. Obviously, we were doing this one particular main story mission, and I didn't get to encounter all of the characters, but I did get to encounter a few of them, and it felt pretty immersive and pretty good. But I don't think I got a big enough slice of the pie to really give an informed opinion on it. It felt like I was playing an Assassin's Creed game, or everyone's got their gear and stuff. You go back, you've got your target that you've just defeated, and you get a little cutscene. Everyone's talking about it, but it was a restricted sort of session in that sense. But from what I saw, I was feeling immersed, which I think is important. And I will also say the gameplay capture that we've got is restricted to 1080p, so I think the graphics could look even better than this, but because of the remote nature of the session, it was restricted there. But I will say overall, it does feel like a hybrid of the modern and the old Assassin's Creed games. And me coming as more of a modern fan, perhaps, and you coming as more of an old school fan, I think it's just really interesting how that translates, because I was definitely trying to be stealthy and it wasn't working out for me in a lot of cases. And I felt like I was punished for that, because it wants you to play the stealthy style. And I think that's good, because that's what they're going for. And that's what you do want to be when you're an assassin. It's not like you're running around as a Viking in Assassin's Creed Valhalla and you're a powerful warrior. You are the assassin, you are Ezio. And I will just also quickly say, when I did figure out the assassin focus, that was really cool to use. That was probably my favorite feature in terms of a gameplay mechanic.
Is that the multi-kill stuff?
Yeah, so there's definitely an upgrade path for it in the skill tree, which I also can't show, but there's a lot of different skill trees and perks that you could invest and improve different things in. But think of it like this: you had like bars that you would fill up as you were assassinating people, and then those bars could be spent in the assassin focus mode to insta-kill, up to 3 enemies. And I think as you progress more, it could go up to like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 enemies at once.
Yeah.
And I think certain like targets, like more elite targets or lieutenants, use multiple bars. So there was one instance where I wanted to assassinate a lieutenant and his 2 bodyguards, but because I only had 3 bars, I could only assassinate the 2 bodyguards or him and 1 bodyguard, or something like that. I couldn't do all 3 of them, which I thought was interesting. So it really made you choose and had to time things so that you didn't just immediately get spotted.
Okay, you keep on like referencing that it feels like a hybrid. What exactly made it feel like a hybrid? Was it like the RPG mechanics layered on top? Was it just it had the gameplay feel of like Valhalla and the newer games, but was trying to do the old school stuff when like it's an Assassin's focus, but you don't have all the stuff, all the flair of the old ones?
It was exactly that. It was more like you're playing the modern Assassin's Creed, but without all of the tools that you get with it being an RPG, like all of the skills. Enemies still had their health bars and their like, I guess their rank or their level or something like that. Which if you went into melee combat, you would chip away at their health bar, much like you do in the RPG games. Whereas if you're assassinating, we're talking more like instant kills and dragging them back into the bushes and stuff like that. So it was, when I say hybrid, I mean more like the modern, but with less of the modern features and more of the assassin-y stuff that you would get in older games, like the smoke bombs, the throwing knives, the distraction bells that you could throw and things like that.
You know what? As a fan of the old games, that sounds actually like really good. Good. You don't sound too sold on it, but like the fact that you're not sold on it and you like the new games is making me more excited to actually play this game as someone that likes the old games. Because don't call me old-fashioned now, but I like to be an assassin in a game called Assassin's Creed, I don't know.
Really
I don't want to be a warrior, so yeah.
You're really not wrong. I think it just comes down to, like you say, you need a few hours to get going with the controls for it to flow and feel good. Whereas, if you're like me and you end up getting spotted, that's where you miss those skills of the new Assassin's Creed games, which you just don't have here. But you do have the Assassin's tools, which again felt very good when I figured out how to use them. But that's my overall impressions, really. I didn't get to play loads, but I was super excited for this because I have played a lot of Assassin's Creed games, even though I didn't actually play Brotherhood, which I know is most people's favorite Assassin's Creed game, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact is, like, Ubisoft is giving players choice as well. We know that there's other Assassin's Creeds coming on the horizon. We know that there's Codename Red, which is the kind of samurai one, and we know that there's Hex also coming as well. So there's going to be ones that are more RPG driven that you like, and there's going to be ones like this. So that's cool.
That's just it. And I will say, I still enjoyed my time. I'm still excited to play it and get to grips with it and see where the story goes as well. Just from a character point of view, I think that we're playing Basim and getting to see his experience is going to be really interesting, because I only got thrown in midway when he's already basically part of the Order, and I think from the beginning we get to see that evolution from Street Thief to Assassin, or Master Assassin even, so that'll be interesting to see. But do let us know in the comments what you guys think, and check out the 2 videos on the screen now. We have loads of videos on the channel and more coming your way soon, so make sure you're subscribed, check out these 2, and then tell us what you think after watching in the comments down below.
Bye-bye.